Hello again, and welcome back to part two of hashtag Jeopardy live panel presented by the JeopardyFan.com. A few hours ago, we had Ben Ingram, June Pop, Jason Keller, Eric Swanson, and Erica Rosengart. Once again, I am Andy Saunders, and we have a very special guest with us. Won $96,000 $97,000 if you don't count
97
the
total.
yes, 97 total, including his third place prize money from his fourth episode, Michael Bilow. So thanks for joining us, Michael. And first up, congratulations on your big win. I think it was the sixth highest unadjusted or absolute total, including Kids Weeks and Celebrity. So
Yep, Andy Richter beat me. As did I think it was Skylar something was the child, and then also Ken Jennings and Roger Craig and Arthur Chu. So I mean, pretty good company.
I would say so. So yeah, you had quite a game on Tuesday, and looked like there was a little bit of stress on you. I guess I'm going to start off straight out by asking you on the Maya Angelou Daily Double, how nerve-wracking was it waiting for them to rule on it? And talk us through that when you were waiting.
Oh my God. Initially the reason I didn't come up with Maya Angelou first was because I was actually thinking I thought it was Obama's inaugural poet, Elizabeth Alexander, and thankfully I couldn't come up with her name in time. So it ended up being like, oh no, on the cusp of morning is Clinton's inaugural poet, which is Maya Angelou. So then I said it as, just as her last name, as if I was back in like high school quiz bowl again, and I did not really completely forgot that I had phrased it as a question. So it took, I think any amount of time on stage feels much more stretched out than it actually was. Like doing my first Daily Double on Titanic, I thought I was silent for 30 seconds. I really felt like I was silent for 30 seconds while I was thinking of the answer. It felt like at least 3 minutes. It may have been much shorter, but while they were replaying the tape and kind of ruling on whether I had I'd started to say Angelou before the boop, boop, boop buzzer went off. And what they said afterwards is they kind of went into Trebek's earpiece and they said that they were going to okay, we made a ruling, we're going to come back for it, and Alex says we're coming back for an ooh, and I assumed when he said we're coming back for an ooh, that meant like ooh, you missed it, you just barely missed it, and so that's what I expect. That's why I ended up being so excited that I had gotten it in time, was because I thought they were about to tell me that like my answer had been disallowed.
But it ended up working for you, and
yes,
that
certainly
yeah. Ooh, so we've got a couple of questions already from the hive mind of the internet. Once again, if you're looking to ask a question, you can use the hashtag Jeopardy Live panel. And our first question comes from @Jerry Shaw. Michael Bilow was a hit on social media. My question for him is, of all the tweets he received, does he have a favorite?
The ones that I actually ended up liking the most, really loving the most, were the hate tweets. There was one tweet that it was Michael Bilow is my enemy, and it was Michael Bilow is my enemy, @Michael Bilow is my enemy. So I was definitely going to see it, and it was that was funny to me to start with, but it was retweeted by this person's friend, whose Twitter, like name on Twitter, is a 4-letter word that starts with C that I'm in a coffee shop, so I can't say it loud. But it was wild. Like I said, I texted that to my best friend Eileen, and she like just died laughing that like someone thought I was their enemy, and then it was retweeted by someone with a four-letter Twitter name. Oh, I love that so much. Other ones, what did I look like? I loved all the ones that were like, Michael Bilow looks like 80s Howie Mandel. Is this Josh Groban's long-lost brother? I don't even really know who Josh Groban is. I mean, I know he's like a croonery type, like a singer-songwriter, I think. But I couldn't pick a Josh Groban song out of a lineup of, 3 or 4 different John Mayer or whatever songs like that. Another one that was really good was I looked like the guy who Longshanks threw out the window in Braveheart. And because I went and found the clip, and it's actually very accurate. Except that guy had a little bit longer hair than I do. Yeah, I also love one person said they have families, Michael, on the Tuesday episode, that was a great one. That was really fun.
Yeah, we brought that up with Erica actually too, and she kind of had a bit of a chuckle at that one. So I also enjoyed when I saw that one on Twitter myself.
Yeah.
Now, talk us through your first game with Eric, actually.
Yeah.
I was watching that. I was on vacation last weekend in a hotel room, and I'm like, let's watch Jeopardy! And then that game happened, and I was quite glad I was watching. But yeah, you and Eric had quite a battle.
Absolutely, yeah, and I mean, he was such a fantastic player, and like obviously really, really smart, and like if he had another game's worth of buzzer experience over me, like I doubt I win that. I think he would have had like enough time because just learning the buzzer like. I don't know how Jennings did it, how he was so good just to start with, but I had to learn kind of on the job, and so was Eric, I'm sure. He was really good. Also, Jacqueline, the champion the previous 2 days. She was also like wonderful and really sweet. And there was a thing on the Jeopardy Reddit where her husband had taken he and Jacqueline had taken a selfie after the game, and me and my family are walking through the back, and I have this huge smile on my face, and my mom is waving to them. So that's very embarrassing. I really apologize on my own behalf and also on behalf of my mom, who she doesn't know when to quit. Anyway, back to the game with Eric. Yeah, it was like it's one of the most fun times I've had on stage ever because. He was really fast, and we were both going basically after everything. And when I hit the daily double in the first round, I hit it very early, so I could only bet. I had I think $400 or $600, and I could only bet up to 1,000, so it didn't end up making much of a difference. But when we went into Double Jeopardy, and then he ended up hitting that first daily double on O Pioneers, which I counted, and like I was livid on the inside when he got that one because there were 4 like very giveaway clues on O Pioneers. Willa Cather, 1913. The clue started with the word O, and then it has the title from a Walt Whitman poem. Like any 2 of them, like title from a Walt Whitman poem and Willa Cather. Like any 2 or even like 1 of them is good enough, but like that 2 of them were there, I was furious on the inside that he had gotten it. And then just by sheer dumb luck, like and he had wagered $5,000, which was cool. Like I really didn't have too much Jeopardy. I didn't have too much Jeopardy strategy that I knew going into that game. I'd done some research on it, but not a ton. And to see him wager that much, and the crowd. This is one of the things that I was actually a little bit disappointed about, was that the crowd noise from that game was almost like there was very little of it. because when Eric wagered $5,000, it was, you could hear a pin drop. Like, it was silent, and like it took getting taken aback. When I went back and so then when I got to the daily double, I was like, I'm not going to be outwagered by this guy. And so when I wagered 7,000 after his $5,000 wager, there was a gasp, and I could hear it on stage, and it was the best feeling just to hear like the air literally get sucked out with that amount of pressure and like essentially the game on the line on that one question. And I thankfully I got it, and I got it much faster than I thought I had. But it was that was really nerve-wracking and really exciting. And like, yeah, I loved it.
Okay, so I guess that was the start of the 7,000
yes
edition.
Yep.
Because I think you threw down 4 different $7,000 wagers in your run. So
I did. It seemed like it seemed like at the time like a good number. If I had missed it at that point, I think I wouldn't be behind by so much that I couldn't catch him in final. I couldn't catch Eric in Final Jeopardy. But it also would give me a nice big lead if I did get it right.
Yeah.
And then it was. The rest of them were relatively situational, and I guess I was comfortable wagering that because it had paid off so well the first time. The other $7,000 wagers. So in the second game, I guess I had a true daily double. Or no, sorry, that wasn't right. The second game was against Cynthia and David.
Yes. And you had the $7,000 daily double in the vaccines question, or in the vaccines category.
That's right. Yeah. Let's see. That one was. That game I don't remember nearly so well because it's kind of like the first game the first game that I got a lockout, the huge game, and then the game I lost. So like the first, third, and fourth are all such huge memories that second game I don't have as strong memories of. Let's see, but I think at the same time, like I was close to putting the game out with that, and I think even if I'd missed it, I still would have been ahead by enough. But I think that put the game out of reach essentially.
Yeah.
Once I got that, and then finally in the big game, in the Tuesday game, it was the first $7,000. So first I had the true daily double, which I think was for 6,400, and then I ended Jeopardy round with 13,000. I hit the next daily double pretty early in the next round. Is that right?
Actually, no. I think you're conflating the two games. Actually, you had the true daily double late in Jeopardy round on Monday.
Oh. Did I? Okay, then boy.
Yeah, you had the true daily double late on Monday to go and we were at 13,000 against David and Cynthia. Then put that one away early on in Double Jeopardy with the $7,000 wager.
Oh, that's
Tuesday
right.
had the pair of 7,000s late.
That's right, because it was African American Office was that last one, 800, and then there was a 1,600 one that I had just a bit before that.
In the Napoleon with the Charlemagne.
Napoleon with Charlemagne, which I almost also got wrong with a really bad one. And I'm going to look this up on Wikipedia right now because I always remember 732 as the date for Napoleon. That must be wrong. I think that might be the Battle of Tours. And okay, so Charlemagne is not alive in 732. So,
yeah.
But yeah, I guess. I was actually about to miss it with Otto the First, who was the first Holy Roman Emperor. I think he was crowned in at the late 10th century. So I knew that I convinced myself that was wrong, that it had to be Charlemagne. But that was another one I very nearly missed.
Yeah, and okay, so I mean, it looked like you were. I mean, you were definitely in a position where you were living by the sword, and then at the end dying by the sword, and it kind of all caught up with you on Wednesday.
Yeah. But at the same time, really, I think the issue with my Wednesday game was that I just like there's too many questions overall, and like too many questions where I didn't have to answer. I missed. I don't know how many I got wrong, but like I was watching it over at O'Brien's Pub in Santa Monica, where like, and then I went and did the trivia with a bunch of other Jeopardy champions. Jerome Vered, who is one of the guys who's scored more. He played in the before the doubled scores era, and his doubled score I think is like 68,000, which beats me. So, so I actually did trivia with him right after that game, and so I what am I trying to say? Yeah, I mean, I still could have, had I hit both of those days, had I hit all of the daily doubles in that game, like I would have had, I would have won, because I had preamble. I thought, yeah, I had preamble. That was kind of the easiest Final Jeopardy, at least in my opinion, of all my 4 days. But I needed to be in the lead in order to capitalize on that because Carrie got it, so I needed to be in the lead. So, you know, my wagering, because I wagered aggressively. If you wager aggressively, you have to become more aggressive as the game goes on. If you're behind, so yeah, I mean, it wasn't really, it wasn't too much, I think, of a flawed strategy. Just like, you know, the TV moms, single moms on TV was not really my category. Neither was the Motown music. But like the pop culture of, I assume, lots of Jeopardy players who are around my age probably feel the same way, that the pop culture of the preceding era is a little bit tough to get into, and a little bit tough to remember, just because you don't understand how meaningful it is to the people who lived at that time. Like, you know, everybody, you know, my mom was like, oh, everybody knew Mary Lou Hammer on, I don't even remember the name of that show, but I know Mary Lou Hammer came up as a clue, and I've heard her name before, but like it doesn't really mean anything to me because I just wasn't alive to see that show. Yeah, so I mean, you know, flawed, and I wish I could have won more, but overall, flaws in preparation, you know, did me.
Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't call aggressive daily double betting a flawed strategy at all. I think it's what it makes things more exciting. I think it makes things more, you know, people don't talk as much when when everyone just bets $1,200 on a daily double. But you know, once we get up into the 8, 9, 10,000, that's a much bigger difference. And I mean, also on some of the material you're facing in last game as well. I mean, that Chinook daily double is, to me, it's much easier to a Canadian than an American, because up here we talk about the Chinook winds coming through Alberta all the time. So, but that's much more difficult for an American to know Chinook. So, at least in my opinion. Next question. This one from at Jill Pittsburgh. How many anecdotes does a contestant have to come up with for the interview break?
Good. You have to bring 5. You have to bring 5 when you go into Jeopardy. So when you get the call, they will send you a sheet, and you kind of have to. You actually fill that whole sheet in with anecdotes. But you have 5 like short things that you're supposed to talk about, and then you also fill in a whole sheet so that when you so that if you win a bunch of games, you don't have to come up with new anecdotes on the spot. In fact, in my second game, Alex went completely off book. Where he asked me about 3D and computers and virtual reality. That was in nothing that I wrote down on my card, that he had written on his card, or that I asked him to talk about. And you can see, I went through, I stopped, I paused the video, and I took a clip of it. And maybe I can screen share it just to show the look on my face, which I think is one of the best moments in the entire series. So I'll screen share this.
Currently seeing a blank screen. Hopefully
you're seeing a blank screen. Okay,
we're good now. We see it. We see it now.
All right. Okay. Let's just rewind this. Hopefully we can see all of the stages of confusion I go through. Which is like, I had no idea, like, one, I had no idea what he was talking about, and 2, I had no, like, that was not something that I had planned to talk about. So I had to make, actually, the experiment that I talked about where they gave it was in a robotics class that I took in college that we talked about this, where there was a robot that was giving tours of the Smithsonian, and what would happen was that it would start being moved around, and someone would walk up to it. The robot was like designed to avoid people and also to lead them within the gallery to like the correct exhibits. But what would happen is that people kept coming up to the robot, and the robot would have to stop, and then because it didn't want to run over the person, and then when those people's curiosity were satisfied, other people would come forward, and the robot never made any progress. So what they had to do eventually was that the people who were designing the experiment, these, I believe, computer science professors, put on these servo motors, and they made a face on the robot, which went from being happy to being like middle kind of average face to being angry. And when people saw the angry face, they would get out of the way. They would get out of the robot's way, and they understood it. So that's what I was referencing in there. But I had no idea what he was talking about.
Yeah, it seems to be. I mean, Alex seems to enjoy going off book from time to time. At least by my own experience, talking to former contestants, it's always unusual when he goes off book. Another question from @Jerry Shaw. How do you think your improv experience helped you handle the pressure of being on stage on Jeopardy?
Yeah. Number one, it makes you love being on stage. It makes you love getting an audience reaction. Also, just like stage experience, like being there a lot. Like I perform every week at this place called the Miles Stroth Workshop. Excuse me, and I've done that for the past 2 years, and I've been doing improv for 5 years. So just doing that a lot makes you it gets rid of almost all the fear. It turns nerves into good nerves. So when I went into my first game, I was nervous, but I didn't have the bad nerves that hold you back or that make you feel insecure. I had the good nerves of just like, we're on stage, we're actually doing this, let's go. So that was one of the big ways that doing improv helped. Nobody tells you what to say on Jeopardy, just like nobody tells you what to say in improv. So the only difference is that there are some right answers in Jeopardy, and there really aren't in improv.
Mm-hmm. Another question, this one from D.H. Kendall CA. So how did you do at O'Brien's against such a skilled trivia? Or with, I guess, was he on your team? Or?
He was on my team. My team was actually all Jeopardy champions. It was an all Jeopardy champion team. We won by a good margin, I think. Yeah, it was... But I think there were other Jeopardy champions, but perhaps not another all Jeopardy champion team. I feel like I was probably the worst player on my team by a good margin. But yeah, the guys I played with, Ken Basin and Jerome and a couple of other names that I'm forgetting off the top of my head, were very, very good.
So, we spoke about Maya Angelou already, but did it have any carryover stress to the following game?
I don't know if that carried over to the following game. I think the release of winning and winning huge, which is kind of what I wanted to do, definitely carried over and made me a little bit too loose on the buzzer. And also made me kind of meh. And because that was the third show I taped of the day, so it was also that wears on you as well. Yeah, I mean, it was all of that kind of pushes down on your ability to be as accurate and focused as I was in my first game, or even the first game of the day. The thing the one thing that did I think screw me up was there was something that was cut out of the episode with Julio and it was actually at the beginning of the episode with Julio, or it was the one with the 90s music category.
Okay, yeah.
One of the answers, there was, I think somebody said to me on Twitter, which was it's weird to see the champion not get in before question 10. And I think I actually did get in a question around question. I got in a question before but my buzzer was not working. So I was in with Taylor Swift for a question that was later thrown out, and all that stuff was cut from the episode. But it ended up not, like my buzzer didn't register, and like that really threw me off at the beginning of that game, because I was a part of me was questioning, like, well, was I not getting in before because my buzzer wasn't working, or because, because they check it before every round or before every break in a round. So it was working like at question 0, but somewhere between 0 and 5, it must have gone haywire, and then I got Taylor Swift, and then it was. And then just like the time it took, like Maggie, who's the contestant coordinator, took me aside and was like, did you buzz in before you saw the lights? And like I didn't remember, and I just I knew I was buzzing in, and I knew nothing was showing up. And yeah, that really messed me up, I think, for the beginning of that game, and some of my slow start there, I think, is attributable to that. Yeah, I mean, I think everybody can tell that I'm pretty emotional, especially like when I go on stage. There's such a reward for being emotional from the audience that it's easy for me to fall into that. So I played very hard, and I was so immensely happy when to have won that third game with such a huge total. That was a big to come back from that, to go end of that game. I've got probably 10 minutes to change my shirt, and Karina's kind of pushing me along and saying, let's go, and then to get back on stage and do it again. It's not easy. I've got a whole lot of respect. I mean, for everybody that I played with, but for the Jeopardy champs who've been able to win 5 games in a day. Whew, I mean, those guys are great, really great. And girls.
So, by the way, people, it looks like they're noticing your broccoli shirt. So,
yep.
You're.
I will say that this shirt, along with most of my clothes, are all purchased by my mother. So credit her with my good style.
Okay, credit to Michael's mother for the broccoli shirt and other items. Next question from Cyan Sunshine. What did you do when you got the call? What did you do when you got the call?
Well, so I got the call in early December. So that was like right about when my eligibility expired, and I had talked to my mom and my dad about it. My mom had actually mentioned Jeopardy when I was home for Thanksgiving, and I was like, my eligibility is about to expire. I don't know if I want to go. I don't even know if I want to go on it anymore. And so I'm sure, like, when the test was announced and they sent me that email, like, I would have gone crazy, because I took my interview, my live interview was in the summer of 2013. So in that time, I was TAing a very difficult course that was run by my advisor. So the first thing that I did was I tried to learn Final Jeopardy wagering strategy, and I built, like, I have pages and pages of, like, strategy notes on Final Jeopardy wagering, and it turned out that, like, it never mattered because I always went with the biggest possible wager that I could that was, somewhat rational. So that all went for naught. I should mention that there's a guy named Weimar who has on GitHub a Jeopardy parser that parses the J archive and can pull, like, basically down all the questions that have ever been asked on the show. So I use that to get some study material to learn kind of Jeopardy question writing style, which is very different from quiz bowl style, for example, which I'm much more familiar with. Then, like, I started freaking out. I was freaking out for about 2 weeks. I remember, like, 2 or 3 days after I got the call, I was eating dinner at one of my favorite places to eat in LA, which is called Daichan, with my friend Eileen, and she and I was just, like, crazy. Like, I hadn't slept, and I was, like, just bugging out. So I had to TA, and that was really hard, and I had to, like, write a final, and I had to grade a final, and that took a lot of time. I had also planned this trip to London for a long time, over the Christmas holidays, and I just said, like, I'm gonna go. Like, I'm gonna go and I'm not gonna study. And even though I was tempted to kind of cancel it and not study, I had no idea. Now, in retrospect, like, if I had lost, I would have been somewhat happy. But given that I won, now I like super regret that trip. Which is just the opposite of what I should feel. That I got to have a really fantastic trip and see kind of all this culture that I wanted to see my whole life, and I get to go win on Jeopardy and win huge. So I should be very happy. But now I'm like full of regrets about that trip. So I didn't start my Jeopardy studying in earnest until I came back to LA, which was not in late January, in early January. And then a couple of days later, my parents came, and they lived in my living room for all the time that I was on Jeopardy. My mom was living in my living room. So that was from my first episode taped on January 13th, and then I was lucky. I had 2 weeks off between my first episode and my second set of episodes, so I didn't go back to tape again until January 27th. My mom was just there the whole time. She wasn't particularly facile with Excel, which made this. Her contributions were a little bit slower than I would have liked, but she didn't have to stay, and it was so nice of her to do that. Yeah, and then it was those couple of weeks were very, very intense. Like, lots and lots of studying. I still had a couple things to do for my research and a couple of things to do, but almost every waking hour I devoted just to studying to get onto the show, or in preparation for the show.
So my next question, was there much in terms of blowback from people who for example, saw you play Wednesday but had for some reason missed Tuesday's episode?
What do you mean blowback?
I mean, a lot of the times I see people on Twitter, being all, throwing a lot of shade towards contestants who don't do so well. And I was wondering if you saw any of that from people who might have missed the previous show where you'd won 57,000.
I think a lot of people were very surprised. A lot of people, expected to see me go on a long run. And I mean, if you look at Jerry, she's just won her third game. Like, she's gonna go to the Tournament of Champions this year, and I'm not. So she's obviously a great player. So I lost somebody who was very, very good that day, and not just like blew out myself. I mean, I got plenty of shade, but even from people who, I think the people who saw me on Tuesday were like, what's going on? Like, this isn't supposed to happen, which is very much like how I felt on stage towards the end of that game. But I don't know. Like, I just love the hate. Like, I love the hate tweets so much that they don't bother me, or like not even the hate tweets, but the ones that are like, this guy sucks. Like, Smokey Robinson and the Supremes. Like, I saw that one come up a lot. And again, pop culture a little bit before my time. Even though I did see Smokey Robinson live at the Hollywood Bowl, so it's sad that I couldn't pull out the name of his backing group. But I don't know. I just enjoyed hearing from everybody so much that, like, even like the good stuff and the bad stuff both feel the same. Like, the people who thought I was like smug, or like said I hate this guy, or like, will this guy stop winning, or whatever. I want to see somebody else. One guy wrote, I wouldn't mind seeing Julio kick the shit out of him today. So like, there's I don't know. I love, like, any reaction that I can get is like, it just feeds me so much. So it didn't bother me one bit.
So at 3 wins and 96,000, do you think you have any chance of coming back for the Tournament of Champions?
Well, if it's early, and who knows? I mean, listen, I would love for them to change to add a little wrinkle in and say, like, the teachers tournament champion, the college champion, and the person who wins the most money in a single game for the year, because, and not like one, it's very exciting. One, that player is very exciting and is probably pretty well known. And two, I made the most of what luck that I had. You know, which if you know, if I had been playing against Ken Jennings and Roger Craig or Brad Rutter or Julia Collins or any like Jeopardy great in that third game, I would have had a good shot at beating them just because I wagered very aggressively and I played, I'm unafraid to play a strong game, to win the game for myself, which is what I see in a lot of players, is that, when I see like a $1,200 daily double wager, like I've always totally scratched my head about that, because it doesn't, it's basically like, $1,200 is such a small amount, in the grand scheme of things, especially when you get to the double Jeopardy round where leads like $4,000 can evaporate in 2 clues. Yeah, I mean, I would love to see more players just go out and try to win and say, I wagered the most that I could, essentially, on every single Final Jeopardy that I got, because I know that over the long run, I'm going to get a little bit more than half of them right. I'll probably get about like 60% of them right. I did some research on Ken Jennings' run, and some guy back in 2004 had kept like Ken Jennings' batting averages, which were fascinating. And he, I think, hit only like about 2/3 of the Final Jeopardies that he got right. So he could have been, in some sense, he could have been beaten at any time as if he wasn't locking his opponents out. So that's what I did. I went for the lockout. If I couldn't go for the lockout, I went to be ahead. And then kind of the tertiary goal was to be able to wager to have at least 150% of my the second place's score, so I could wager to lock out, and I would still beat them if they didn't get it right. So those were kind of the three goals in order. And yeah, I mean, I wanted, like, at the same time, like, I wanted to win, and if I was gonna win, I wanted to win big, and like I did. And it's like now, like, I had some cry day on Thursday, so but now I can feel proud that like I did really play well, and I really hope I get to come back and play the Tournament of Champions. I really hope so. I really want to, just because I loved playing so much, and I sent thank you notes to Maggie and Karina and Amy after both the first day and the first day that I played and the second day. Just like I had such a blast on stage, and it's like being a professional athlete for like playing in the world championship of your sport every day. And if you lose the world championship, you never get to play the sport again. So, to get close to setting a record, like that's, I don't know, that's the a really, really good feeling, and I'll always be able to rewatch that Tuesday game and feel really proud of myself for playing with not a shred of fear. Like even the Wednesday game, like I wasn't afraid once to bet everything and lose, which is because everybody's gonna lose. Eventually, everybody loses. Has Brad ever lost a game?
Does Watson count?
I'm gonna say no.
Then no, he has not.
Okay, well, even if you let Brad Rutter back on the show, eventually he will lose a game. But and the question is just how long can you keep it going, or how much damage can you do while you have the time to spend on stage, and also like I like entertaining, so to go out and play. I mean, I think the first game between me and Eric and Jacqueline was one of the most entertaining Jeopardy games I will say of all time, and I don't think I'm wrong. Like it was the highest combined score since the Arthur Chu, Julia Collins, Ben Ingram Tournament of Champions final last year. That's an amazing comparison to be close, to be really, really neck and neck with that. So yeah.
Mm-hmm. By the way, I just want to say one thing. I'm glad that my Ken Jennings numbers helped.
Oh, those were your Ken Jennings numbers?
Yes, those were my Ken Jennings numbers.
Oh my God, that's amazing.
Yeah, I put those together 10 years ago during his run. So
That's so interesting. Yeah, because I did that was like when I went in for the first week, I didn't have too much Jeopardy strategy in me, and I was just like, I was thinking I was gonna wager big either way, but like that. Excuse me, that Eric had already done it beforehand, like absolutely sealed it in my mind that I'm gonna wager like huge. Then when I was gone for when I had the 2 weeks off, I did of course a lot more studying, but also like that last night or two, I spent a lot of time just thinking about Jeopardy strategy, and someone did a very interesting simulation of like what is the appropriate amount to bet in when you hit a daily double in in each round, and they basically came to the conclusion that you really should go for two daily doubles in that first round because it's so easy to make up ground again in the double Jeopardy round. And then as you get closer to the end of the game, if you have a lead, how to what extent should you protect it? So one of those $7,000 wagers that I made in the game against who was it? In the game, it was in the Tuesday game. The last $7,000 wager I made, I could have wagered, I think, like almost 9,000. I was going to wager 10,000 if I could, and then I calculated and I did some like quick math and kind of looked at the board and was pretty sure that I couldn't wager 10,000 with complete safety, so I didn't. And then what I do, and then. So I wagered 7,000, and even had I missed it, I could have not answered a clue, and I still would have locked out my opponents.
So yeah, I mean, you were definitely the what people were talking about. I mean, SB Nation had a story on your Tuesday game, and so I mean, definitely I would say that there are a lot of people who are crossing their fingers along with myself and you that maybe that the numbers work themselves out and you find yourself in the tournament of champions. So
I mean,
yeah.
I really want to go back, but I've gotta temper those expectations.
Yeah. So, well, I mean, I'll be hoping. I mean, it could happen. So,
Sure.
once again, thanks for coming on. It's been about 45 minutes, so
Yeah.
I think it's probably we haven't had a question come in a while. So, on behalf of everyone who's tuning in,
Thanks very much.
thanks for joining us, and congratulations once again, 97,000, including the 1,000 from game number 4. So our next one, we have our next live panel. We haven't quite scheduled yet, but we will let you know. And to those of you who tuned in and joined us today on both of our panels, thank you very much. Let's see if I can. Okay, good. I may be able to screen share the credits. Yep, there we go. Okay, thank you very much for tuning in. And once again, thanks to Michael. Happy Easter, happy Passover. Thanks for tuning in. Have a great night.
Thanks. Bye.